Welcome to Review Every Ship by CitizenCon 2024. Here we begin our series where we will update and rate every single ship and vehicle in the game. We can't do it alone. Comment down below what you think are the best and worst things about the ship we're reviewing. Add some helpful tips and share your rating from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, of course. The point is to give an update on every ship since some haven't had a video made about them in years. We'll go in depth, but we won't repeat everything on the RSI website. We will link to multiple sources of information, either in the description or in a pinned comment. We start our series with the Aegis manufacturer, and we have reached the Idris. It is not our final ship in this series. However, we have reached it because we're going in alphabetical order. So if you were wondering, that's what we're doing. So for our variants, we have the Idris-M, the Idris-P, and then we have the Idris-K, which is an upgrade kit for either the Idris-M or the Idris-P. Starting with the Idris-M, the Aegis Idris-M is a frigate used by the UEE military. It lends its name to the standard line of frigates in the United Empire of Earth Navy. Idrises are larger than traditional corvettes, but smaller than destroyers and destroyer escorts. They can be found in most active battle group formations in the human military. They are used for everything from long duration patrols to scouting dangerous jump points to interdiction. In addition to typical capital weaponry, Idris-class ships maintain a flight deck and a small spacecraft detachment of 2 medium fighters and 1 Argo MPUV-1C in a dedicated bay. The Idris-P. The Aegis Idris-P, or Peacekeeper, is a variant of the Idris frigate developed by the UEE Patrol Services. It has less armor, has a smaller front gun turret, and has removed the missile turret system for additional cargo capacity and speed. It also doesn't come with the infamous spinal mount gun as standard. It can carry 2 medium fighters in its main hangar as standard complement, plus an Argo MPUV-1P in a dedicated bay. The Idris-K, on the other hand, is an aftermarket special edition of the Idris-P that features additional equipments tailored to dealing with the swarm threat of carrier-type ships. Compared to the Idris-P, Idris-K has an additional size 10 laser beam, 4 point defense turrets that replaced the remote turrets, and a missile turret that replaced a manned turret. Both Idris-P and Idris-M can be converted to this variant using the aftermarket kit. It can carry 2 medium fighters in its main hangar as standard complement, plus an Argo MPUV-1C in a dedicated bay. That's what the original in-concept description of all 3 of those ships are. The Idris has grown to be able to fit 3 medium fighters. The interesting thing about the Idris and its ability to carry these medium fighters, it has what's called a through deck hangar, which means that all 3 ships go in through a tube in the middle of the Idris, and they all deploy from that tube one at a time. So it's like what you might have seen in Star Wars, or one ship has to get up, go, then there's a ship behind it, that one gets up and goes, then there's another ship behind that one gets up and goes. But they're all going through that same chute to come out of the ship. And it's the same thing with entry. They all 3 would have to enter one at a time. Now that may change because neither one of these ships, the K, the M, or the P of the Idris, is out yet. So any of these things are subject to change. So just keep that in mind as we continue to discuss. The minimum crew capacity is 8 for the Idris and the max is 28. Now, what I would say is you're not going to run this ship with anything less than 20 people. Now, I would say you don't need 28 people to run it. I would have 8 NPCs fill out the rest of that crew, but if you have anything less than 20 people, I would not be running this ship. This is 100% a must crew type of ship, and that stands for all 3 of the variants. The ship has 995 SCU. I would expect that to grow considering how large this ship is and the fact that the Banu Merchantman has, I think, close to 3,000 SCU, and it's a very much so smaller ship than this one. One thing I will say is the K has 995, the M has 831, and I believe the P has 995 as well. I'm not 100% sure if the K will keep that 995. I would say the P should have the most cargo. The K should be somewhere in the middle, unless it's an M variant with the K attachment. And then the M would have the least amount of cargo. Either the K or the M will have the least amount. Whichever has the strongest offensive capability is going to have the least cargo. And whichever one has the weakest offensive capability will have the most cargo. So I believe the Idris-P will be that one. From what we know so far, the SCM speed seems to be 45 and the max speed seems to be 1,462, but that's just based on what we can ascertain so far. These are not numbers that are verified, and that would only be for the M variant. So we still need numbers for the Idris-P. And of course the K, because that may change the speed as well. We're just not sure yet. So let's talk about the ship weapons, which is probably the main reason you brought an Idris-M or upgraded your P to a K. But if you have an Idris-P, you have an empty hardpoint size 10. So you could put a weapon there. My guess is because this ship is supposedly modular, I'm not sure if the K variant is the only module, but if there is a different type of kit that you can add in the future, perhaps this size 10 hardpoint, it may have a different use. But you have 7 size 7 turrets, then you have 4 size 6 remote turrets. For the M variant, you of course have that size 10 gun. You have 7 size 5 man turrets. You have 4 size 5 remote turrets. It has 1 manned size 7 turret. It has 1 size 8 missile launcher. Moving on to the K, it adds the size 10 Exodus laser beam, that large laser beam weapon. Then it has 6 size 7 turrets, 4 size 6 turrets, 2 size 5 turrets. Now we really don't know what the shields and hull HP will truly be of the Idris, so we'll really have to just go by what they say they have as far as parts. So it comes with a large radar, medium computers, a capital power plant, capital coolers, and because it also have medium coolers, capital shield generators, medium shield generators, and then everything for as far as fuel will be capital. That's the fuel intake, fuel tanks, quantum drives, jump modules, quantum fuel tanks, all capital. But there's an interesting thing that happens with the Idris, because the Idris actually has, of those medium computers, it has 6 of them. It has 2 capital power plants, 2 capital coolers, and 6 medium coolers, and 2 capital shield generators. Now, it's also supposed to have 12 medium shield generators as well, so I don't know how that's going to work. There's certain ships that literally won't be able to touch this ship. They will shoot at it, and whatever they shoot at it will basically just bounce off, unless they're using a very large round to get through the ship's hull, or they're using a very large laser to get through the shield. One of the unique things also about the Idris, and I'm not sure if all the variants will get it, but I'm pretty sure all variants will get, at the very least, the brig, the medical bay, the briefing room. There'll be a shooting range on board, and then there'll be quarters for both the CO and the first officer. And then there'll be like a briefing room. There'll also be an armory, not to mention stores for all types of armors. And you know, I know the army will have this, but it'll also have different armor places and weapons cases throughout. So the Idris is absolutely a capital ship. By every metric, it is a capital ship. That is by its length, by its width, everything, its weight. It is a full-fledged capital ship. As far as maneuverability, there have been a few people that have managed to get inside of an Idris somehow and drive it, but not to any extent that we can measure its maneuverability. It is going to be one of the more maneuverable capital ships as far as the military is concerned, but there's not that many capital ships to really go by, so we can't really estimate exactly how maneuverable it will be. All we can do is go by what CIG has said, which is that it will be more maneuverable when compared to other capital ships. Time to give this ship a rating. I rate from 1 to 10, but my 1 is a little different. My 1 is only buy if you have a unique reason that is specific to you or for looks, and my 10 is if you have the money, this ship is almost guaranteed to be useful to you in the game. Excellence achieved. All right, so it's not a meaning that the ship is just useless and nobody should ever buy it. It just means you need a unique reason or a specific reason to you in order to buy it. And my 10 doesn't mean it's a perfect ship. It just means you will definitely find a use for it. And I would say it's just excellence as far as its design and more, not just its design. So that's my rating system. Again, my 1s are not terrible and my 10s are not perfect. I rate the Idris series as a 10. Yes, I said it. The Idris series is a 10. This might be the single most important and single most useful ship in the game. It has modularity. We still don't know what that modularity means. You can take all of your friends with you in this ship. For the value that you can get it for, it is expensive. However, it does all the things you need to do as far as combat. You can get a javelin, sure, but you're paying twice the price. So to me, this is the full stop best ship in the game. You can't get any better than this because you'll either lose value, you'll have to bring a bus full of people and then another bus full of people and then a stadium full of people with you in order to operate a javelin, or you're just not going to get the weapons, the usability, the stopping power. You're just not going to get it. And when I separate the variants, I'm sure the M is going to have, like, you know, better hull integrity, and it's going to have, you know, probably better power consumption when we talk about the K, because the K is like a kit added to the P, whereas the M is like built that way. So the power consumption will probably be worse on the K. The P is going to have more turrets and the K is going to have more missiles. So it's really going to depend on how many crew you have, because if you have more crew, you're going to want the M. If you have less crew, you're probably going to want the K. But the M will probably be more useful as far as fighting. I want to see a M and a K go at it because I don't know which one will be better, but my guess is the M will, because it's just built that way, whereas the K is a pack that's added. But at the same time, the K is an upgrade to the M, or at least it's a kit available for the M. So we're going to have to fight those to see. But yeah, I think if you're going to go up in ships, if you're upgrading everything and you're trying to get to the highest possible ship you should get, I think 99.99% of people should stop at the Idris. You don't need anything else. If you're going to a Kraken or you're going to a Javelin, you should only be doing that if that's what you absolutely are certain that your organization needs, or for one of those reasons that I rate things as 1, which is like you just like the look of it. You're rich, you just want one, right? But you don't need those 2 ships, right? Because if you're getting a Kraken, most of the things you can do with the Kraken, you can do with a smaller ship, including like the Banu Merchantman. The Javelin, that's for gigantic orgs. That's for people who are like, I just want the biggest ship in the game. That's not really perfection that we're talking about. The Idris is perfection. If you are looking for a ship, and this is the only time I'll ever say perfect ship, I'm gonna say Idris is that ship. If you don't have an Idris and you get an Idris, I don't care what you did to get it, you got an Idris, you're good. You don't got to do anything else. But I'll continue my review. If you're spending this much money on the game, you probably know which one of these variants you need. Really, let me explain to you what you should be getting this ship. First of all, if you don't have an org, or you don't have 20 buddies who also play this game, which I would still say is basically an org, then you shouldn't be getting this ship. Even if you can crew it effectively, this is not the type of ship that you want to just have sitting in a hangar somewhere. This is a ship that if you have it, you're going to want to use it as much as possible. What is its use case? It's like a long range military ship, right? It's something that has all the amenities you need to kind of stay out if you're part of the military rather than keep going back. It's high combat, but it's a mobile base. It's got the fighters to keep the smaller ships off of you. It's great at ship-to-ship combat. If you get the P variant, you know, you might have some cargo that needs very high protection. And then also, of course, you can do fleet escort with this ship. You know, some people might, they might have 3 medium ships that they love, and they literally only use it as like a little carrier for their medium ships. I mean, and also ship transport, right? Think about it. If you have 3 medium ships, if you need to transport 3 of your own medium ships from one end of the galaxy to the other, from system to system, or if you want to do that for money and make some money from someone else who has 3 ships, you know, that they want ship a long distance, and you don't want to have to worry about how to protect them, the Idris seems to be a great way to do it. And think about it, if this is flying in a fleet, I mean, it's one of the best ships you can have flying in a fleet, because you not only have the medium ships that can fit inside, so on top of the fact that you have a medical bay, you can have a Cutlass Red go in and out of this ship and heal people, drop them off as an ambulance. I mean, there's so many uses for an Idris because it's so huge. But also the brig that's on there, I think also provides a very unique thing that you can do where people are using this as a base for bringing a whole bunch of high value targets from bounty hunting, bringing them back to the ship, putting them in the brig, and then once the brig is completely full, then you can take a trip to where you need to, offload all of them, and collect your, considering how big the ship is and how many people you'll probably be able to hold, you'll probably be collecting 100 million every time you drop off the people from the brig. The use cases for an Idris are extreme, but it's really for protection. It's an escort, it's a mobile base, and it's all long range. I need to fight, you get one of these. Of course, I'm gonna say get the Idris-P, and then you can always decide later if you want to get the K kit. I think the Idris-M was a great version of it. However, because it is no longer available as a standalone, I'm just gonna say the Idris-M isn't worth it unless you've already spent 15 grand on the game and you want to just melt that and just get the Idris via, you know, buying that $15,000 pack. I would say just get yourself an Idris-P and an Idris-K. I don't think the difference between the K and the M is going to be so crazy that people who didn't get the M are going to have an issue with the fact that they didn't get the M. Again, if you're spending this much money in game already, probably already know what you want. You already know why you want an Idris. I would say do as much research as you can, but I think you could also do more research into what you want to do. Not so much on the ship, because the ship is the ship, right? But if you're at this level where you are buying an Idris, you are already in a position where you should know what type of gameplay you want. What is your end goal? What do you want to do in the game? You should already know that if you're buying $1,000 plus ship. If you don't know, start getting your research done now before you purchase this ship. And if you do purchase it, again, I'm gonna say, go ahead, just get the Idris-P, leave it alone. Wait till the ship comes out, and then you can decide whether you want to upgrade to an Idris-K or not. Unless you just got that 15K, then pop off. Get your whole $15,000 pack, and then I'll just shut up. All right, that's the Aegis Idris series, the P, K, and the M. That's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.